Imagine this. 3 U.S. Navy warships, armed to the teeth, are stationed just off the coast of Venezuela. A nuclear submarine lurks beneath the waves, and 4,500 American troops, including 2,200 Marines, are ready for action. On the other side, Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro mobilizes 4.5 million militia members and deploys 15,000 troops to the border. Why? A so-called war on drug cartels that's spiraling into something much bigger. Welcome to the escalating U.S.-Venezuela standoff, a geopolitical powder keg that could change the region forever. In this video, we're diving deep into what's happening, why it's happening, and what it means for the world. Stick around because this story is bigger than you think. Let's start with the man at the center of this storm, President Donald Trump. In February 2025, Trump designated Venezuela's Tren de Aragua, Mexico's Sinaloa Cartel, and other groups as foreign terrorist organizations. This wasn't just a label. It gave the U.S. military broad authority to act against them. Trump's message to the cartels was chilling. We will use every tool, legal, financial, and military, to completely destroy you. Why the focus on cartels? The U.S. blames them for the fentanyl crisis, which has killed tens of thousands of Americans annually. But the real target seems to be Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro, whom the U.S. accuses of running the Cartel de los Soles, a shadowy network allegedly embedded in Venezuela's military. The U.S. even doubled the reward for Maduro's arrest to $50 million, calling him one of the world's biggest narco-traffickers. But is this really about drugs, or is there a bigger agenda at play? Trump's designation of cartels as terrorist organizations in February 2025, the U.S. fentanyl crisis, and its link to Latin American cartels, Maduro's indictment in 2020 for narco-terrorism, and the $50 million bounty. To back up his words, Trump ordered a massive military deployment to the Caribbean. 3 Aegis-class guided missile destroyers, USS Gravely, USS Jason Dunham, and USS Sampson, are now patrolling near Venezuela's coast. These aren't just any ships. Each carries over 90 missile launch cells, capable of firing Tomahawk cruise missiles for long-range strikes. Then there's the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, including USS Iwo Jima, USS San Antonio, and USS Fort Lauderdale, carrying 4,500 personnel, including 2,200 Marines trained for rapid response. Add to that P-8A Poseidon surveillance planes and at least 1 nuclear-powered attack submarine, and you've got one of the largest U.S. naval operations in the Caribbean in decades. Officially, this is a counter-narcotics mission to stop drug smuggling. But the scale of this force, destroyers, Marines, submarines, has raised eyebrows. Experts say this looks more like a show of force aimed at Maduro's regime, possibly even a prelude to regime change. Let's break down what these assets can do. Details of the U.S. naval deployment: destroyers, amphibious ships, Marines, surveillance planes, and submarine. Capabilities of Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, e.g., Tomahawk missiles, anti-submarine warfare. The Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group's role in potential rapid response operations. Questions about the mission's true intent: counter-narcotics or geopolitical pressure. Venezuela isn't sitting idly by. President Nicolas Maduro has called this U.S. deployment a colonial invasion force and a threat to his country's sovereignty. In response, he's mobilized over 4.5 million militia members, volunteers trained to support Venezuela's armed forces. He's also deployed 15,000 troops to the Colombian border in Zulia and Taquira, claiming it's to fight drug trafficking. Maduro's government insists Venezuela is free of drug trafficking, pointing to seizures of 53 tons of drugs this year. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez announced naval patrols and drone deployments along Venezuela's coast to counter U.S. forces. Maduro even banned drones over Caracas, citing past assassination attempts. But here's the catch. Analysts say the militia's numbers may be inflated and Venezuela's military is stretched thin by economic collapse. So, is Maduro's response a genuine defense or a desperate attempt to rally support at home? Maduro's mobilization of 4.5 million militia members and 15,000 troops. Venezuela's naval and drone deployments to counter U.S. forces. Maduro's rhetoric framing the U.S. as a declining empire. Doubts about Venezuela's military capacity due to economic challenges. This isn't just about drugs, it's about power, politics, and global alliances. Venezuela is a key ally of Russia, China, and Iran, all of whom have strategic interests in the region. Russia has supplied weapons and conducted joint military exercises with Venezuela. China has invested billions in Venezuela's oil industry, and Iran has sent drones and advisors. The U.S. deployment could be a signal to these powers. Stay out of America's backyard. But it's risky. The scale of the U.S. force suggests contingency plans for more than just drug interdiction, maybe even a strike on Maduro's regime. Critics, like constitutional law expert Bruce Fine, argue this violates the U.S. War Powers Resolution, as Congress hasn't authorized military action. On the other hand, Venezuela's response could be posturing to distract from domestic issues, like a contested election and economic crisis. If either side miscalculates, a small incident, like a clash at sea or in the air, could spark a wider conflict, potentially flooding the region with refugees. Venezuela's alliances with Russia, China, and Iran. The U.S. deployment as a possible signal to global rivals. Legal concerns about the U.S. mission violating the War Powers Resolution. Risks of escalation and regional instability, including a potential refugee crisis. So, where does this go from here? There are a few possibilities. 1. The U.S. keeps up the pressure, using its naval presence to disrupt cartels and weaken Maduro's regime without direct conflict. 2. Maduro doubles down, relying on his military and allies to outlast U.S. sanctions and threats. 3. A misstep, like a naval incident or a drone shoot-down, triggers a larger confrontation. The U.S. insists this is about stopping drugs, but the lack of clear evidence tying Maduro to cartels, as noted by Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum, raises questions. Meanwhile, Maduro's massive militia mobilization might be more about rallying his base than preparing for war. For now, both sides are in a high-stakes game of brinkmanship. The Caribbean is once again a geopolitical hotspot, and the world is watching. Possible outcomes: continued pressure, Venezuelan defiance, or accidental escalation. Mexico's rejection of U.S. claims about Maduro's cartel ties. The role of domestic politics in both the U.S. and Venezuela. The Caribbean as a renewed geopolitical flashpoint. The U.S.-Venezuela standoff is a complex mix of drug wars, geopolitics, and power plays. As warships patrol the Caribbean and millions of militia members mobilize, the risk of escalation looms large. Will this be a surgical strike against cartels, or is it the prelude to something much bigger? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Should the U.S. be taking this approach? Is Maduro's response justified? And what's the endgame here? If you found this video insightful, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives into the stories shaping our world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.